Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Awesome Finds. I'm just putting on my gloves here before I handle the records, but per usual, I have a very eclectic mix of genre and style of music. Some music I bought, some stuff that was sent to me, and we're going to start with one that was sent to me. This is Post-Death Soundtrack with their third album, It Will Come Out of Nowhere. Now, they sent this to me without letting me know. It just sort of showed up, and I was very struck by the cover art. I mean, it's gorgeous. At the same time, it's very disturbing. I love this white sculpture. And this is actually a very ingenious slip cover here. Kind of reminds me of Everything Now by Arcade Fire. So you have this this very interesting sculpture. Almost looks 3D printed, or maybe it's like a computer generated graphic there. And I'll show you the records. Now, this music kind of caught me by surprise. It is sort of like goth industrial metal mixed in with trip hop beats, but very clean vocals. Not like doom in that sense, or not very guttural, but not a very uplifting record, but I did enjoy it. Here is side A, side B. Love those labels, look at that. And man, I know you can't really tell on the video, but this third track here is so precise. You can just see this beautiful pattern in the vinyl there. Got side C, it's kind of cool looking. And there's side D. Now that I think about it, it definitely has some psychedelic moments, a little bit of prog rock moments, maybe a little bit of math rock, metal math rock, you know what I mean? Very precise instrumentation. If that's something up your alley, totally recommend checking out Post-Death Soundtrack. Thank you so much for sending this my way. So up next, I got two records by the Kaisers. This is their LP, Wishing Street, originally released in 1997. This is the 2017 vinyl edition. I believe it's the first time on vinyl. And actually, Johnny Kaiser, the drummer, reached out to me on Facebook, enjoys the channel, and he wanted to send me his band's records. And I was like, that would be awesome. And I absolutely adore this band. They're very much in the vein of that early 60s beat. Think of like Dave Clark 5 kind of a sound, but just done so well. Like you could mix one or two of these songs within a set of that era music, and I guarantee you people wouldn't know that it wasn't from that time period. That's how good this sounds. That's how good the production sounds. And on vinyl, oh my gosh, take my breath away. So fantastic. So I really like it. Great catchy beat. Fantastic. Just an all around fun record. So here is side one. Look at these labels. So gorgeous, right? Yeah, it looks like a new record, but man, put a little bit of aging on that and you'd think this was a vintage 1963 record. So cool. Made in England too. And as I mentioned, he did send me another record. This is a 10-inch. This is their Rough and Rare, unreleased tracks and alternate versions, 1993 to 2000. So this stuff hadn't been released before. And oh my gosh, if this previous record didn't win you over, this one will, because it has really that raw sound, sort of that like real analog noise from tape kind of sound. Just sounds so good. And I'll show you guys the vinyl real quick. Here is, I believe, side one, and there is side two. A little bit more contemporary feel. This is on a different record label. This is on Sound Flat Records. And that is a great label, by the way. I recommend checking them out online. They're putting out some great bands that are doing the vintage sound. I think you'll really dig it. If you like that kind of that early 60s sound, you're really gonna like Sound Flat. And I recommend checking out the Kaisers. And let me know if you've heard of them, if you got to see them back, 20 years ago. That'd be really cool. Leave me a comment. So up next, I have Kanadia's self-titled debut from 2019. And they're an Oxford-based band out of the UK, and I believe the sister of one of the band members reached out to me by email and encouraged me to check out the band, and then I really liked their sound. They have an impeccable alternative rock sound. Super clean, crisp, like everything hitting on all the notes. Wonderful production overall, very good vocals. It's a 4-piece, so you got drums, bass, guitar, and keyboards. Probably one of my favorite kind of lineups for a band. And then on top of that, you have this like sparkly early 2000s sense of alternative rock mixed with just enough of the crunchiness, grunginess of the early 90s. I think it's a great, fantastic mix. They're a young band, kind of getting their feet wet, and with this album I think they're going to make quite the impression. So I wish the best for them, and I really appreciate you sending this record my way, because if you had not gotten in touch with me, I probably wouldn't have seen this record on my radar. But man, if you're into new music, we want to support local artists, especially if you're in the UK area near Oxford, I highly recommend checking them out. Here is the vinyl. Here we've got side A and side B. So yeah, thank you so much, Kanadia, for sending me your debut album. You should be very, very proud. This is really well done. I'm jealous actually, so great job. So next up I have the TV soundtrack to Chips. And this is the Yuji Ono and the Explosion Band. I paid around $38 for it. It was kind of pricey for my taste, but honestly, and also it was missing the Obi strip, which I kind of found out later. I was like, oh man, kind of wanted that Obi strip. But I am very, very happy with this because it has the theme from Chips, which we all know and love, I'm sure. And then the rest of the songs are all by the Yuji Oni and Explosion Band. So that is super cool. Just great disco kind of funk stuff. Early 80s, just fantastic. What's interesting though is I'm looking at these cops and these guys aren't, they are not the guys from Chips. And then I'm looking at the back here and I can't tell if these are from the show, but it looks like actual photos of the real California Highway Patrol, not stills from the TV show. So it's been a long time since I've watched the program, so maybe I'm just not remembering correctly, but my hunch is that a lot of these photos are just like stock photos from the time period and they didn't actually want to pay the rights to like stills from the TV show. I don't know. I'd have to do more research. But anyway, it's on RCA Records. Here is side 1, and there is side 2. I definitely recommend checking this out. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to find this version online, so your best bet is to just import a Japanese copy. So up next, I have the first volume of the Vinyl Post Record of the Month Club. So Vinyl Post, if you remember, they started off doing these postcards. They're not really vinyl, but they're like a flexi disc technology, and they would send you these postcards to try out new music. Now, the creators of that have started doing a Record of the Month Club, and it's basically a mixtape of sense, but a record, so a mixtape record. Kind of like what Vinyl Moon does, if you're familiar with them. So anyway, it's a really great deal, actually, and I gotta say, the compilation on here is fantastic. I don't really know any of these bands, but it was very consistent. Great feel overall. It was like someone made a personal mixtape for me, and I adored this. It had a very chill, lo-fi feel. I don't want to go as far as say Mac DeMarco, but if you imagine that sort of like lo-fi indie rock, not indie folk, but sort of like indie rock synthy rock kind of thing, that's what this is. Very, very Sunday afternoon, sipping mimosas by the bay. Really, really great stuff. It's got original artwork. Also comes with a custom inner sleeve here with lyrics on both sides. And then I'll show you the vinyl. The vinyl is actually very, very striking here. Kind of a nice clear with a little bit of color. There's side A And there is side B. So anyway, I want to thank Vinyl Post for sending me this way. Very appreciated. Really enjoyed this mix. Highly recommend you guys check out Vinyl Post on your own. So up next, I have Surfing with Deep Fantasy, originally released in 2012. This is the 2019 final edition of 1300 records pressed. This came on a very stunning teal color right there. It also came with some feelies, which I'll talk about in a second. But Surfing, they are a great blend of Vaporwave and synth wave. Just a lovely mashup. I would say actually synth pop might be a better term for that, but just a great blend of those two. Very flowy, very catchy, chilled out, great for a Sunday, I would say a summer evening kind of record. You know, like you're getting in the groove, the sun's setting, you're having your first libations for the evening. It's gonna be a great night. You put this thing on, oh my gosh, you're in a great mood. By the way, just gorgeous throwback artwork. I mean, if this isn't a vintage image, I am so impressed with this on the back there. Just wonderful track layout, so cool. Now, it did come with some pretty cool feelies. So this is on George Clanton's label, 100% Electronica. But anyway, I paid for this record. He didn't send this to me or anything like that. I am a fan of his music and his label. I think he does great stuff. And speaking of which, I got 2 trading cards, one of George himself, and this is Surfing. How cool is that, right? Totally 90s trading cards. There's no bio on the back or anything, but I love this young picture of George and this alternate picture of the duo. So, oh, dropped it. So cool. And I'll show you guys the record itself. Some of these earlier pressings go for quite a bit of money on Discogs. I was surprised. So I was happy to pick this up at the fair price. And I think George did this great thing where he had this pre-order up for a limited amount of time, and he kept upping the number that he would press depending on how big the supply was. And I think that's great because a lot of people missed out on these earlier editions and having to pay scalper prices, and George is trying to make it so everyone can get a chance to own this on vinyl. So kudos to you, George. Here is side 1, and there is side 2. Just a great overall product design. Love that. Deep Fantasy by Surfing. Highly recommend you check this record out. So up next, I got Night Drive by Timecop 1983 on Time Slave Recordings. I paid a lot of money for this. I think it ended up being over $40 because it had to come from the UK. So already I'm spending more money because it's in pounds sterling, and then I got shipping on top of that. But I was very excited to pick this up on vinyl. I'm a big fan of Timecop, love his synthwave music, and this did not disappoint. Just quality stuff. Now, if you don't have the money for any of his vinyl releases, I highly recommend going to Spotify or go to Bandcamp and check out his music that way. That way you can at least experience all the synthy goodness of this release. And on the back there, just a gorgeous imagery right here. Love the layout. And I'll show you guys the vinyl. It's actually a double LP. Here is record 1 with side A with this nice blue and black, kind of globular look. There's side B. And here is side C and side D. So yeah, I was very excited to pick this Timecop 1983 album up. However, I don't know if I can keep up with all these releases from My Pet Flamingo and Time Slaves. It's becoming very expensive, and I kind of want to put my funds in other avenues. So we'll see. This might be my last one for some time here, but either way, check out Timecop 1983. So up next was definitely a splurge. This is the Gene Rains group with Rains in the Tropics on Decca Records from 1962. This is one of those Exotica records I've been hunting, looking for, and I can never find it for less than $100. And it just so happened I was on Discogs trying to find a different record, and this was in my wish list, so I was all set and ready to buy this very reasonable $20 record, and the seller also had a copy of this, and it was in stereo, and I was like, I should just do it. So $125 later, I saved on shipping, and I got this and another record that I'll talk about later. You'll see a whole video on that. And oh my goodness, besides the beautiful cover art, this is just some of the best exotica you can get. And Gene Rains, for whatever reason, I don't think sold very well, wasn't very popular, but it's like borderline jazz. It's so good. It's not overtly cheesy like Arthur Lyman can get, and it's not so over the top like Martin Denny. It's a little bit more in line with Les Baxter, but even Les Baxter can sometimes get a little honky-dory, whereas this is just like pure exotica, just totally transportive, takes you to a tropical hideaway that doesn't really exist on planet Earth, but it does in your mind, and you get a nice tropical cocktail and you sit back, relax. We're going places. Oh my goodness. So good. I highly recommend it. However, it's hard to find. It's not available on Spotify. The only digital version you can find is a LP dump on YouTube. So at the very least, please go experience it in that form. And then if you become a fan, it's really worth having. And this one is in phenomenal shape. I was very, very happy when it arrived. I think the seller definitely undergraded it because you just do that. You don't want to say something's near mint and then someone gets nitpicky and says, oh, it wasn't near mint, and then you get a bad feedback. Now, the one thing I haven't done with this release is clean the record. So it still has, I believe, the original paper sleeve. It's definitely got, well, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think this was just a paper sleeve that someone used because it has a hole punch in it. I don't think that has a hole punch. Anyway, so here is the record itself. It is dirty. I need to clean this. This is side 1 and this is side 2. But once I clean this, oh man, it is on. It is my round trip, my one-way ticket to paradise. What can I say? All right, so we're gonna end this episode with 3 albums by Prince that have never before been released on vinyl. And these, I just snatched these up. I bought the 3-pack to save a little bit of money. And we're going to start with 3121. This is actually a very nice double album. That's got to be here in LA somewhere. I know he had a house here. And get some nice inner sleeves here with lyrics. And then this one, yeah, you get a picture of his bedroom. Ooh. When I actually listened to it again, I was like, this isn't as good as I remember. This is probably the weakest out of the 3. Yeah, 2006. I love Prince, and there's good moments on here, but you wouldn't be wrong to say that he sort of lost his touch towards the end, unfortunately. And that just happens. That happens with artists. It's hard to stay relevant and innovative. You kind of hit a peak, and then not to say that this isn't worth listening to, but unless you're a fan, I don't think you're going to appreciate this. If you're just like a casual listener, you'll be happier with his earlier output, his first couple of albums. I would say most of the albums from the 80s and then a little bit into the 90s. Here is side 1 and there's side 2. And now all these releases came on this really nice kind of purple color, which I don't know how well you can see that, but it's a really lovely kind of marbled look. And here we go. Here is side 3, side 4. 3121, not his best output. Unless you're a fan or you really like this album, I would say you don't need to own it on vinyl. But I'm a completionist. I couldn't help myself. So up next we have Planet Earth from 2007. This one's much better than 3121, but it's still got some clunkers on here. I would say, yeah, this lenticular cover is pretty amazing. I think it's quite gorgeous. Love how it switches between him and the Prince symbol. But again, overall, it's kind of an uneven album. This was like in that weird period of Prince where he was still making music, but it was kind of missing the mark a couple times. On the back here, they actually put this clear sticker on the shrink wrap, so I kept it because otherwise you don't have the track listings. And I kind of wish it was a little bit different. I don't have a great way of displaying the stickers that go in the outer shrink wrap once I remove them from the shrink wrap, because I don't want to leave records in the shrink wrap because over time it can continue to shrink and then cause pressure to the spine, make it bow, that sort of a thing. So you know, it's cool, and I guess it sticks because of static, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. But still, you gotta love that cover there. Really cool. Show you guys the vinyl. This is a single LP, and then again, you can kind of see it's the same purple. We have side A and side B. I do recommend this album. There's some great songs on here, but it's a little uneven, so definitely check it out online. If you like it, pick it up. So I'm saving the best for last here. This is Musicology from 2004. This might be considered the last of his really good all the way through albums. After this point, it got kind of progressively worse, and it's not like it's bad music, it's just there's a change. There's something different about his writing, the melody, and this has still got that like 80s Prince magic. What's cool is that this packaging really reminds me of his album Around the World in a Day. How it has this flap that opens up. It's got a little pocket in here, and you get a picture of the band, and you get lyrics on that side, and then you get more pictures, really cool photography, and then more lyrics on that side. I'll show you guys the records real quick. Here is side 1, there is side 2, and what do we got here? We got side 3 and side 4. So yeah, Musicology, fantastic album, totally worth owning on vinyl. If you haven't heard it before, do yourself a favor, check it out. It is so good. All right, everybody, that will do it for today. I had a lot of fun going through all these records. Hope you had fun watching. Be sure to leave me a comment down below. Let me know which of these were your favorites. Until then, I'm your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Hey everybody, thanks again so much for watching. I really enjoy showcasing the records I pick up, and if you want to watch more, I have a playlist right there, as well as a video that YouTube will choose for me. If you like what you see, I put out new videos every Tuesday and sometimes Fridays.